Oh, we're taking a minute here. Oh, good morning. It's gone live at last. StreamYard's a little bit slow this morning. So how are you this morning? There's a little bit of bright sunshine outside, so that's always good, isn't it, for mood? It helps your mood. I hope you're all well on this fine Tuesday. I'm a little bit early, just a minute early, but that's fine. So I'll wait for people to drop on. So today I'm going to be talking about how invisible illness, invisible disease, invisible illness can be challenging and rewarding in business, and the struggles that you may have to face. Hello, your hair is looking lush. Thank you, Rachel. Hi, Nancy. Because I wanted to talk about this because so many of the women I work with through the Creative Mastermind and all other different areas of my work are sufferers of invisible illness. And there's a lot more that you will have to go through compared to other people. And I think it's worth talking about. I think it's worth noting. I think it's worth talking about strategies to help you get through some of your most difficult days. And I know for a fact that you have difficult days because I hear it all the time, week in, week out, through my Creative Mastermind clients, the days that they are struggling. So let's talk about that today. So for those of you that don't know me, I am the Creative Genius. I'm Mandy Nicholson, if you couldn't tell. I am the Creative Genius Consultant, and I'm an artist, I'm an author, I'm a creative retreat owner here in Scotland, and I help creative women to launch, grow, and scale their businesses and make more money. And I have more than one invisible illness. So let's talk about that today. Let's talk about how you experience that in society to start off with. You know, how often have you heard people say, maybe not even to you, maybe to other people, but you don't look sick. You don't look like there's anything wrong with you. So there's automatically an underlying assumption and bias in society where you have an invisible illness. Now, a visible illness, a broken leg, you're in a wheelchair, you're on crutches, those are visible. You can see them, maybe even some skin conditions or hair loss, things like that. You can see that somebody is suffering with something that is visible, but the invisible illnesses can be absolutely soul destroying. And when somebody says that to you, it makes, you don't look sick or you don't look like there's anything wrong with you. There's an assumption that you think they think you're faking it. Yeah. So how do you deal with that when somebody actually says there doesn't look like there's anything wrong with you? You don't look sick. You don't look like there's anything wrong with you. I always think that to flip it is a good thing. So ask them how they're feeling that day. How are you feeling? Yeah. You also might get, while we're talking about how people perceive invisible illness, it could be worse. Yeah. Suck it up. It could be worse. Those are the things that people, because it's invisible and they may see you walking from place to place, doing normal things like eating and drinking. Yeah. They may make assumptions like it could be worse. Well, you could have cancer or you could be in a wheelchair. It could be worse. They have no perception, if they're not experiencing it themselves, of how it is for you. Now, this goes for physical invisible illnesses. So what sort of illnesses does this cover? Well, for those of you in NeuroBoost, this covers ADHD, autism, all of the spectrum, dyslexia, dyspraxia, all of the spectrum diseases. Yeah. It covers mental health, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a number personality disorders, a number of mental health conditions that are invisible to the outside world. And then there are loads of physical disabilities. So for instance, and I'm going to use myself as an example here, you can have chronic arthritis, which I've got in certain areas of so in my knees, my feet, my hands, I've got chronic arthritis. I've got polymyalgia rheumatica, which is in my hips and shoulders and neck. People can have heart conditions that they're living with every day that make it difficult for them to experience the normal things that other people can experience in life. There are numerous. You could have cancer. Nobody sees cancer. Yet so many people have, 2 in 3 of us now are going to suffer from cancer, which is quite scary. And just another fact for you, before I go any further, did you know that 6 out of 10 adults are experiencing invisible illness of some description? So the percentage in society is quite high. And yet someone might say to you, but you look fine most of the time. You look fine most of the time. But who lives with you 24/7? Yeah. And who really truly understands how your days are? So it's your job, if you're in business, to A, communicate that with people so that people understand better, but B, also manage your time effectively so that you are being your best self. Because if you try to push through, rather than dealing with what is you're experiencing today, you can end up in overwhelm. You can end up with recovery days, because pushing yourself too hard can cost you 2 or 3 days of recovery. I've done that myself. Okay, so let me talk to you about it, not from my client's perspective, because I could use any number of examples, but from mine. So every single day for me, I am dealing with chronic pain, which also means chronic fatigue, which also means that it can have an impact on my mental health, because chronic pain does have an impact on your mental health, where you become you get to a place where you just can't face doing things. That's the best way to describe it. So chronic pain is really hard to deal with. To try and describe that to you, so if you've got chronic arthritis, you will understand. So some days my feet are so sore, they are throbbing. I'm waiting for surgery on one of my feet. My knees are difficult, which means that walking and climbing stairs is really hard for me. With my hips going as well, so hips and knees, some days I'm walking with crutches. Most of the time I'm having to use a crutch to get up and down the stairs. I've got pressure gloves for my hands now because of the arthritis in my hands is bad. Now, that's not me moaning. That's telling you I am still running 2 6-figure businesses here and still dealing with those physical, invisible illnesses. And that doesn't mean I'm Superwoman. Do you know what it means? It means I look after myself really well. On the days that the pain is really bad, I look after myself. I allow myself rest. I don't generally start work till 10 in the morning, not because I'm lazy, but it can take me that long to take my pain meds, to take the dogs out and get my body moving and my joints moving, to make sure that it takes me a bit longer to get dressed and showered. And you have to make allowances for the difficulties that you have. And that includes neurodivergence, because you are so distracted most of the time. You're chasing shiny objects. You are sitting looking at a blank page, wondering what you can do. You plan and then you can't follow it. There are loads of things that you find 10 times more difficult than other people. And sometimes those other people are so dismissive of what you're going through as a business owner. Now, it's not their problem, absolutely, but it is their problem if they're making comments like, you don't look sick, or you don't look like there's anything wrong with you, or it could be worse, or you seem fine most of the time, or you should do this instead. Have you ever had that? You should do this instead. Or it's only stress. You're only stressed. So that's diminishing mental health. It's only stress. It's not. Anxiety and depression are serious. People, if you've got problems with allergies, which one of my clients has, and you're saying you can't eat this, this, and this, they then start to challenge everything you eat. Are you sure you can eat that? Some people might even say to you, look, it's mind over matter. Yeah. That diminishes you. And I'm laughing, but it's not funny if you've been on the receiving end. Tell me if you've been on the receiving end of any of these comments. Maybe somebody, if you've got PIP or adult disability benefit, you might have people say things like, at least you don't have to go to work or find work. I wish that was me. Or if you're overweight, is your weight the cause of your chronic illness? Yeah, it is a bit of a nightmare if you're overweight and you've got chronic illnesses like arthritis, because everybody, including the doctors, automatically assume that that makes it worse. Have people said to you things like, we all have bad days? We all have bad days, yeah? And yes, we do. Every single person in society has bad days, but the people with chronic illnesses, both mental, neurodivergent, and physical, have more bad days than you do. 6 out of 10 people are suffering silently. Yeah, go chill out, man. Yeah, go chill out, man. How can I do that if I have ADHD? Yeah, you can't go chill out, man. You're wired most of the time, aren't you? There's such a misunderstanding. So how do you change people's perception? First of all, you need to talk about it like I have with you today and said, these are the things that I struggle with. Some days I'm still showing up here. You can't see the lower bit of me. You can't see my crutches. All you can see is that I've done my hair today and I've done my makeup today. It's because I'm filming for TikTok, by the way. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. So that's the bit you see. So people judge you on the bit that they see or the bit that they experience. So I welcome my guests here. And I grit my teeth and I walk upstairs to show them to the bedrooms with a smile on my face. Then I have to go and sit down for 20 minutes. So we adjust. But imagine, as a business owner, that costs you more time. And I have a lot of discussions in my creative mastermind. What do I do, Mandy, when I feel like this? So let me give you a couple of examples. Recent examples from last week. One of my clients said, I can't cope today with anything visual. It's really overwhelming me. And I said, right, that's okay. You don't have to sit at a desk and do your work. Can you listen to some training? Can you listen to an audio book? Is your auditory function okay in terms of sensory? So that's exactly what she did. Is she used her auditory function instead of a visual function and lay with her eyes closed, listening to an audiobook and some training. And then I've got another client who suffers like me with neck and shoulder pain, polymyalgia type symptoms, as well as hips. And she was quite overwhelmed in the last week and had to adjust how she works. So working on a variety of things instead of sitting at a desk for hours on end. So moving and doing something physical for 30 minutes, maybe doing some administration for 30 minutes, changing the way that you work. And I got asked last night in my group call, what do you do, Mandy, when how do you manage shiny object syndrome? Because a lot of obviously the ladies I work with experience a lot of invisible illnesses, but also shiny object syndrome. My friends like to benefit from my blue badge. Oh, yes. I get comments like, how do I get one of those? Yeah, honestly, they think, don't they? People think it's a bit of a bonus if you are disabled. And I don't think there's any one of us, any one of you watching this call, and definitely not me, that wouldn't exchange any benefits that we do experience for good health. And I think that's a fact. And it's like anything, isn't it? Until you experience childbirth and having children, you don't know what it's like to love children. You can still love children, but you've no idea until you have them. I thought I knew because I loved my nephews, but I didn't know until I had my own children how deep that parental love is. So there's some things you don't know if you've not experienced it. And people who have not experienced these invisible illnesses, the chronic pain, the mental illness, the neurodivergent illness, will never understand. And I'm going to hold my hands up to that. As a store manager, I did not, when I was in retail, did not understand mental illness very well until I experienced it myself after an ectopic pregnancy, and I ended up with postnatal depression. That gave me a whole new insight into the people that work for me that were experiencing mental health issues. So I think first and foremost, communication is the number one greatest skill that we have as human beings. So we have to be able to communicate. It doesn't mean we're moaning. I haven't moaned today about the things I can't do. I've told you the things that I struggle with and how I adapt. Normally, I switch off at 2 o'clock, even if it's only for a couple of hours, to get a bit of a nana nap and a bit of respite from working. So I'll generally work 10 till 2. And in the middle of that, I'll walk the dogs. I've got coping strategies that get me through the day. You need those, whether it's a physical illness, invisible illness, or whether it's a mental health or neurodivergent invisible illness. So I was talking about one of my clients last night said about shiny object syndrome, because a lot of creatives and neurodivergent people who have that invisible illness suffer with that. Starting something, then going on to something else, then going on to something else. Did you know that chronic pain can cause you to do that as well? Chronic pain can cause you to move from thing to thing, because you can be sat at a desk typing something and feel in a lot of pain and then move to something else. So shiny object syndrome exists for people, for creatives. That's a norm for creatives. For neurodivergent people, that's the norm. But also chronic pain can cause it as well, where you are flitting from thing to thing to manage your condition. So each condition, you need to have a strategy for it. Yeah. And I can't give you a strategy for it because I don't know your condition. I can help you come up with one. But for instance, I might say to my clients, okay, look at your work day and plan in just 30-minute blocks. Move it around, change what you're doing. If shiny object syndrome shows up, if you're having a new idea, when you are working on something and you are tempted to go and work on the new thing rather than what you're working on, and what you're working on is further down the line and might make you money earlier than the new shiny thing, then park the shiny thing. Have a car park on your wall somewhere and post-it note the new shiny idea that you've got. Finish what you're doing and then look at the shiny idea and actually say, is this a viable money-making option in my business? What market research have I done? If I go and do this, how am I going to make money from it? Will it work for me? So it's about accepting and acknowledging the shiny objects that are showing up and doing a cost and benefit analysis on it. If it's not a new idea for your business, but it might be a course or a new program or a new thing that you think you might want to do, what is the cost and benefit? How much is it going to cost? What's the benefit to you? Everything needs to be, you need to learn to step back, take a breath and look at each individual thing and accept that you're going to have loads of ideas. That's what makes you amazing. You might be struggling with these things, but you're also an absolute warrior. Because if you're running a business with a hidden illness, an invisible illness, you're an absolute warrior. My ops manager, Gwen Baird, who is one of the finest women that, I know, she's worked with me for 4 years, has just kind of semi-retired for working from me. She's keeping some stuff on to start her own business, helping women with invisible illnesses because she has one. And I think that's an amazingly brave and courageous thing to do. And I think it's so needed. So one of the things that, I don't know whether you're aware of, I'm sure you all are if you're watching from NeuroBoost, because You know, Rachel talks about this all the time, but anywhere else on my social media, if you don't know, you are eligible to apply for Access to Work, which is a government grant fund, which you don't have to pay back. It's money into your business, not physical money into your business, but money to pay for support in your business to help you with the things you can't do physically, or because of your neurodiversity, or because of mental illness, or even temporary illness like cancer or a broken leg or something like that. There's a fund available called Access to Work. Now, at the moment, we've got 100% success rate with all of my clients that have applied for Access to Work. And some of them have got big pots of funding, like 60, 70,000 pounds. So there is money there that's available to help you if you're one of these amazing people that are struggling with an invisible physical, mental health, or neurodiverse illness that other people can't see. You have to grow a bit of a thick skin to this. You really do. Thank you, Lisa. I'm so grateful for you in this community. And that's how it feels when you've got some funding for your business. It's a game changer. So here's how I use my funding. I've got Access to Work for my invisible illness. I got £66,000. I'm really open about this. And here's how I spend it. I spend it on people who can help me to write copy, to schedule copy, to create graphics, to manage my email system and administration systems. I also spend it on a cleaner. I've got a 7-bedroom house. There's not a chance on earth I could clean it with the physical conditions I've got. A gardener. I can't do my own garden because I am not physically able to. And somebody to manage all of my art bank side of things. So all of the different websites. So that's what that fund has paid for in my business, so that I don't have to spend as many hours sitting at a desk, or I don't have to do the physical tasks that need to be done. I also have a cook and cleaner for the art bank, so I don't have to stand in the kitchen cooking. So, wow, we're looking glam, Mandy. Yeah, that's because I normally look like shit most of the time. So when I make an effort, I look a bit glam. So I wanted to come on and talk about this today because we don't talk about it enough. I know that, in NeuroBoost, it's talked about a lot. Let me read this comment. I'm very grateful. NeuroBoost told me I could get more Access to Work funding than DWP had said. Yes. And I'm grateful I received funding to pay for coaching with me. Yes. And now accept Access to Work payments for my confident coaching clients. And that's the difference that it can make in your business for people like V and like me, and like most of my clients, and some of you watching here, that are suffering day in. It's about acknowledgement at last. This fund acknowledges that what you have is something that needs support. And that is what the fund is there for. You need support in what you do. We are so bad as British people at soldiering on and having a stiff upper lip and, just cracking on with it and working through the pain or the difficulties. And it's time that we didn't. We can absolutely contribute to society in a huge way with our ideas and our businesses. In fact, what would we do without some of these creative ideas? We wouldn't have many of the things we have in society right now. Certainly wouldn't have loads of books and creative projects that are out there. We wouldn't be watching on a laptop or a phone right now, would we? So thank goodness that people have soldiered through, but at last there's some help and support there for people who really, really need it in their businesses. So don't be frightened to ask. Talk about it, share it, tell people, and tell people why you need support, and stop letting them judge you, because they don't have to walk a day in your shoes. And sometimes I wish they could, so they really understood. But actually, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So I don't even wish that. Anyway, I hope that's helped today. All I wanted to do was come on and talk about that today and just remind you that if you haven't applied for Access to Work yet, do. If you don't think, a lot of people don't think they can get it, so they don't bother. There's a link in here that you can click to book a call with me if you want to talk to me about it. It's completely free, 15-minute call. If you just want to talk about Access to Work and whether you could get it. Or if you just want to talk about your invisible illness and how you struggle with it and how to get a strategy in place that helps you, because it can take a long time to get there. Sometimes talking about it to somebody who knows can be a huge game changer. And there's lots of women that are even been watching this call right now that experience it themselves and can help you. So have an awesome week. I will be here next week talking about something else. And it's Easter weekend next weekend, isn't it? So let's hope the weather starts to perk up a bit for Easter. Hope you got your Easter eggs bought. And I will see you same time, same place, probably not as glam, next Tuesday. And with a new topic that's going to be very much more strategic business focused. I will see you then.